Most people who say they are stuck at work are not really trapped. What it is they are exposed. So what they have is one income source. They have one person deciding how they are valuable or whether they are valuable, and they have one timeline that they don't control. That may be you that I am talking about. So when one employer controls your income, they control your time, they control your option. That's not loyalty. We oftentimes talk about this being loyal to our employer. This is not loyalty. This is risk. And that's what we want to talk about today. This is the Company of One podcast, and here I teach professionals how to control their income so they're no longer dependent on just one employer or one source of income or one job. I'm a professor of engineering management. I've been doing this over 20 years that I've been working with professionals, helping them to build, to leverage, to grow. Some of the people I've worked with have grown, meaning promotions or finding ways to grow in the company. Some of them have left the company, found better roles. And of course, there's people who have started their new job, started their own companies and done things like that. But all of them are making choices out of strength, not desperation. And that's what we want to talk about here today, is because I'm talking to so many people and seeing so many people on LinkedIn that are exposed. They're overexposed. So many professionals feel stuck in roles that they've outgrown. Many, right? Does that, when I say that, does that grab you? I might have outgrown where I am. But the issues isn't really a lack of skill or opportunity. It is exposure. And exposure is kind of we'll talk about what exposure means. But in this episode, I'm explaining why depending on a single employer quietly increases risk. And I say that quietly because we don't see it coming. We don't see that our risk has been increased. But that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm specifically going to talk about how do you get some control here. So, and because I really want, when you listen to this episode, I want to give you some things to walk away with. And we're going to do that here in just a minute. But let's first talk about what overexposed really means. What I mean by what I'm saying overexposed, because this is what I'm noticing. People tell me over and over, I'm stuck. I feel stuck. I feel like I've outgrown. I see these things, but what I'm watching is, just for lack of a better word, I'm having to call it exposure. They've got one paycheck. All their eggs are in one basket, right? They have one narrative, one person basically deciding what they are worth. They have one ladder, right? This is the one, we're trained, we take a job to climb the corporate ladder, but there's only one ladder, so you're only going one place, and that doesn't always have a thing. One of my clients right now says, my ladder, I'm at the top of my ladder. There's nowhere else to go. And he's, realizing he's overexposed. So this is one exit. If it ends, this is, I want you to think about it. If it ends, you start back at zero. So layoffs hit high performers. They hit everybody. Many layoffs have nothing to do with performance. Mergers happen. New leadership changes overnight. Boy, I remember working in a Fortune 100, and literally we would show up and we would have a new manager, and then another day, days, weeks later, a new manager. It was just bloom, bloom, bloom. Some of them were great, some of them not so much. Budget cuts. There's never any permission. There's usually not even any question. There's just your budget gets cut. And you just feel safe until you don't. That's that was exactly that's the words exactly from a client of mine. Said, I just felt safe until I wasn't. And you probably understand where I've been. If you've been around this game long enough, you felt these things. I know I have. I know that, here's some things I just had written down that one friend of mine was an employee of the year, had all the accolades. 6 months later, they was restructured and they were out of a job. It was just like, it was a shock to them because they felt really safe. Another had 12 years at the company, role eliminated. And all of his network, all of the people he knew was internal. And this was a guy that knew a lot of people, but it was all internal. The risk, though, isn't today. The risk is because you might feel safe today. You may be safe today, but you have no leverage tomorrow. That's really the risk I want you to think about. So let's look into, so why are we here? Why are smart people here? If you're listening to this podcast, I'm putting you in the category of a smart people, right? We all consider ourselves smart. We're all educated, right? We all, whether we're educated in the academia world or the corporate world, probably a lot of both. This is not incompetence I'm talking about. I'm not saying any of us are incompetent. Matter of fact, we're probably highly competent. We're usually high. Most of the people I work with are high performers. They get rewarded a lot. They have lots of focus, lots of loyalty. They are very loyal to their companies. Their companies have trained them to specialize inward. Now, you may laugh at that because we don't really train people hardly anymore. But there is this sense that you get focused more and more inward. So you are trained by the system, if you will. You get focused on doing your job. You don't even pay attention to what the other departments do, right? You get very focused on doing the thing that you are paid to do. And you're so busy, you don't have time to do anything else. And for most of these people, we're crushing it. We're prioritizing. We're not really worried about anything else. We're just doing a good job. We're taking care of what we got to take care of. And so there's 3 traps that we fall into. So I'm going to talk about the traps, and we'll talk about how to get out of the traps here in a minute. But let's talk about the traps. The first one, and I am too valuable to let go. I have felt this and then was let go. I remember thinking we were going through this downsizing, thinking, well, what the project I was working on, the thing I was doing, the visibility I had, I'm safe. Matter of fact, one of the bosses of mine told me, "Oh, you're safe," and I wasn't. So but we think we're too valuable to let go. It may be that we are working on important stuff, but a lot of times decisions are not made on performance. They're not made on the project. They're just made. There are so often, and I have been part of making these decisions in my life. They're arbitrary. They're a spreadsheet. I'm not saying that apologetically, like I should not have done that. I should have done that. That was my role in the company, is to make business decisions. It wasn't about whether Sally had bought a new house or John had bought a new boat. Didn't matter. We're running the business, right? So you're not too valuable to let go. The company has a responsibility for managing the company. The people in the company have a responsibility for that. The second thing is, I will deal with that later. This is the second trap. I think of the Eisenhower matrix. We've seen this in the book, How to Win. No. In the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talks about the Eisenhower matrix. Quadrant 1 are things that are urgent and important. They're the things that drive us all day long. They're the fires we put out. Quadrant 2 are the things that are important, but they're not urgent. Exercise, you taking care of things, the longer picture of things. And that's what we're talking about, is I'll deal with that later. I'll deal with the risk I have here at the job later. A lot of people will tell me they feel it and they felt it for years, and they would deal with it later. They're too busy. A lot of people have said, I'm just comfortable. I really like my job. I'm really great with this company. We all like each other. Red flags. That doesn't sound like a red flag, but those are some red flags. Later becomes years. I've had multiple clients that I have worked with. I've been doing this a long time. I've had clients I've worked with, and they would say, hey, I'm kind of feeling this, stuck. I'm feeling in a position where I'm in a danger spot, right? And they do nothing. They do nothing because it's not urgent yet until they call me. And sometimes it'll be a year or two later, and it's suddenly urgent. Later becomes yours. Something shifts, on them, and then they're scrambling, and that's what happens. Usually, we see it. We don't always see it, but I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you, see it. It's there. There are red flags all around you about your job going away or something giving way, that it's no longer the place for you to be. So trap number 3, exploring options feels disloyal. I hear a lot of people tell me that, and they say, well, my company really values loyalty, right? I feel very loyal. They've done great things for me. And that is probably true. But let me just tell you, flip the script. Companies don't feel disloyal laying you off. And they're not. Again, it sounds bad when I say that. They're not. They're managing companies, managing budgets. Most companies are not ministries. We're not here to take care of Sally and Joe. We're not here to take care of you. You are here to perform a job for us. We're paying you for that. And when that is no longer needed, we don't need you. Loyalty has no place in business in that way. Right? And you're going to send me some emails. I know it. But in that way, you have to make business decisions. I mean, you can be compassionate with some people in certain circumstances, but generally speaking, we have to make the decision for the business. And they're not loyal to you. They're not like saying, well, John's been around here forever and he's done such a great job. They may have those conversations, but that's not how the decisions are going to be made. They call it business decisions, and they are. They are business decisions. You should be making business decisions. That's the problem. They are making business decisions. You're making decisions based upon loyalty and family. You need to be making business decisions too. And let me just tell you, if you think this is weird saying this, I have seen families where sons and daughters are working for the family and they lay off the son or daughter. And they're like, this is not a ministry. I mean, as a family, they may take care of them, but they'll probably find something else to do. But the business no longer needed what they had. And so they had to lay off their own family members. So you call that whatever you want. But you should be making business decisions too. So the better you are at your job, though, the better you are, the more liked you are, the easier it is to ignore this exposure that I am talking about. And oftentimes what's happening is you're getting praised, you're getting promoted, and you're getting comfortable, very comfortable. Meanwhile, back at the farm, nobody knows you exist. Nobody outside of your corporate organization knows that you exist. They may know, but they don't. You have no network. Most people's network is entirely inside the company. So what's the cost of this? Number 3, the cost of this overexposure to you. I think you're already seeing some of it, but financial. Inside, this is quietly costing you because they know you're not shopping around. And it's not like trickery or anything else. It's just like, we feel like we can trust you, and you've been here a long time, and we've given you lots of pay raises. Well, we give the other guy a pay raise because he's shopping around and he's got an offer, so we got to try to fight to keep him. Or she's new and we're trying to get her pay raise, her base pay up to a certain amount. There's all these games that we play sometimes from HR, right? So your raises tend to plateau. The longer you're there, they tend to plateau. Your negotiation power goes pretty much to zero because you have no options. You have nothing to negotiate with. And so you end up taking what they offer, right? So professionally, so that's financially. Professionally, you start to tolerate bad managers. You start to tolerate micromanagers. I talked in a previous episode about micromanagers. We accept projects that don't develop us. And that's normal, right? We keep getting the same kind of projects that we've done multiple times in the past because we're good at them, but we're not growing. We stay in our roles. Think about this. Somebody told me this the other day. We stay in our jobs and we stay in our roles past their expiration date. You pull something out of the refrigerator and it expired 2 years ago, and you're debating, do I still eat this? Maybe 2 years, we should make a good decision on that one. But maybe it's a month. But your job has an expiration date. Are you past that? And that goes both ways. You have an expiration date there in terms of it no longer adds value to you, and there's a point where you're not adding as much value to them. It's just the way it is. Psychologically, though, the cost of this overexposure to you psychologically is fear starts to become a big part of your decision. I've been there for a long time. I have a lot to lose. You stop speaking up. You stop taking risk. You start protecting instead of building. I was talking to somebody the other day. He was making $95,000 a year. He was worth 130, 140 in the market. Just not because he was great, just his job title, just what he did. But he hadn't interviewed people in 8 years. He hadn't been having any conversations. He didn't know anybody outside of his company, really. That's probably true of you, too. You probably don't have a large network outside of your company. Most people don't. And he didn't know who to talk to, and he just had this gap. He's like, I don't even know where to start. And he wasn't laid off. He wasn't unhappy with his job, but he just could tell, I am behind. And my company can't. It wasn't that the company didn't love him. He's like, look, we're just a smaller company. We can't pay what the bigger companies are. That's fine. That's okay. But he's now realizing he should be at one of the bigger companies for his family, right? To put more food on his table, if you will. So, all right. So this is the overexposure I'm talking about. Let's talk about reducing your overexposure. Now, I want to talk about that without saying you need to go quit your job. That's not what I'm here for. A lot of people say, Dale, what you do is you tell people to quit their job and start companies. No. I mean, yes, people do that, but some of my clients do that. But that's not my role is to help you take control, to help you get back in a sense that you have control, you have joy, you feel confident, you can take risk. So this is where I want you to lean in. I want you to hang with me here. We're not going to talk about starting random side hustles here. There's places for that. We're not going to talk about becoming a consultant. No rage quitting. No going in, turning your desk over. As fun as that may sound sometimes. Not burning bridges. I'm a big advocate. I have burned bridges before and then went back and tried to repair them because burning bridges, there's no value to that. And let's not be fake. And let's not be disloyal. So I'm not talking about doing anything against your employer. I'm a Christian coming from a Christian point of view, work as if I worked for the Lord, including an employer I no longer want to work for, or I feel like I've outgrown. But I'm still serving them today. So we're doing everything ethically, if you will. We're not talking about doing anything stupid here. So what we are going to talk about is expanding who knows your value. So it's your network and how you network. It's creating options and to test leverage quietly. So some concrete moves. So if you've got a pencil, we'll put this in the show notes. You can also find these on my blog at dalecallahan.com. I put these out Monday and LinkedIn on the Company of One newsletter. So there's lots of places to find this, but I'll put this out to you in text. But here it is. Number one, have external conversations. Have external conversations. Now this one I'm writing down and it takes me by surprise even saying it. I remember when I was working for a Fortune 100 and even some of the smaller companies I've worked with before, everybody I knew was really inside the company. I mean, I knew other people, but my real true network, the people I knew that knew anything about what I did, that could speak to anything about the quality of my work or my thinking or anything else, they all worked for my company. Not only did they work for my company, I wasn't even, when I worked for a big Fortune 100, people in other divisions didn't know my name, right? Which if you work for a big company, you know what I mean, right? They don't even know your name. They much less what you do. So having external conversations, when I went to work for the university and in the entrepreneur space, every day I was having external conversations. That's just what I did. So it's kind of weird for me to say that because I was in a unique space that this was the fun thing to do. This was my job. But I realize every time, even corporate executives now, so I'm talking about a lot of my clients been corporate executives, people whose job it is to network, and they will tell me, yeah, I've got a huge network, but it's all inside the company or it's all inside the industry. And so it's really limited. And these are outgoing, extroverted people, right? But they're so busy doing their job, they don't have or their network is dead, is one of the things I will hear people say. Like, so what I would suggest to you is having external conversations, do simple things, send emails. Hey, former colleagues, people you used to work with, hey, let's go have lunch, catch up. I mean, it sounds like it's a waste of time. It's not. When a recruiter calls you, when a recruiter sends you something on LinkedIn, explore it. Go down the path. A lot of it's going nowhere. But play in the game. You're not looking. By the way, I'm assuming you're not looking right now. You're not looking for a job. You might be, but I want you to change the exposure game. This is kind of like insurance policies, right? To reduce your personal risk. Industry events. Showing up. You know those goofy meetings that you show up and they have pizza or some kind of box dinner and you listen to somebody talk and what a waste of my time. I've wasted 2 hours of my day going back and forth to this. Yeah, those. And other events, and maybe some of them are even virtual. Showing up, getting up, stepping outside. Is it going to add you value dollar-wise immediately? Probably not. You might be surprised. Oftentimes I go and money really flows, but probably not. Probably it's just going to be a chance to show your face, to say hello to some people, to meet some people. So you need people that are outside of your organization. These external conversations are important. They need to know who you are. They need to get to know you better, and they need to be able to speak to your value. And you're thinking, well, how am I sitting at a box lunch meeting going to do that? If you if you keep showing up, you will become known. And they will probably be saying, hey, can you take on a role? Can you be grabbing the speakers next time? Or can you do other things? Yes, yes, yes. Those external things that grow you, that are outside of your comfort zone, they are valuable. Very, very valuable. So external conversations, doing things that's right outside. It may be inside of your industry. That's fine. It may be inside of your profession, like Project Management Institute, Electrical Engineering Institute, all the various professional organizations out there. Show up, take part. And you're in the minority of those in your profession by just showing up. Then number 2, building industry visibility. So this is related, but not quite the same. Posting on LinkedIn about problems you solve. And I know probably all of us are on LinkedIn. Some of us despise LinkedIn. I've been on both sides of that camp. But it's a powerful tool to have conversations. And it doesn't look that way, but I'm watching friends of mine that in different countries talking about engineering problems. The guy will get on there and he'll say, hey, here's what I'm working on. Not sharing secrets, but here's the kind of problem we're trying to solve. And engineers from other parts of the world, I mean, these guys are talking some technical stuff. I don't know what they're talking about, but I mean, I'm not diving into their details, that's for sure. But they're posting about their problems. But what they're doing is they're showing knowledge base. And LinkedIn is a keyword. People search on keywords. So talking about things is powerful. Commenting on other posts with substance. I don't mean congrats, great for you, celebrate your birthday. Those things are fine. But, commenting on other, especially people that are in your space, commenting. You don't have to come up with some brilliant thing. You might even ask a question like, hey, how does that work? I'm familiar with that AI technology, but I don't know which one works best. What works best for you guys? How are you implementing that? Asking questions, shows you are in the space. Questions are actually great because it gets people to talk to you. Giving talks internally or externally. Now, especially if you're, it doesn't matter. Some of us hate to do public talks. Some of us are very afraid of it, but they could be small. Those associations I'm talking about, those monthly meetings, they're always looking for speakers. That's one thing you guarantee. They're always looking for speakers. They're not looking for brilliance. They're looking for just, hey, here's what we're doing in my company with this technology. That's usually what they want to hear. So you just show up, and when you show up and you're the speaker, suddenly everybody in the room knows your name, and you show up next time, and well, now they all know you and they know what you talk about. Simple things, right? So write a guide for people that can use it. This is, I've seen, I have a client right now, and she wrote a Salesforce, I think it's called Salesforce Y. I think that's what it is. It's a kind of a comical view on some of the silly things Salesforce administrators have to deal with, the software workarounds. And it's a comical thing, and she's written this. It's real, but it's also lighthearted and making fun of it, kind of the Dilbert world of things, if you will. And she's getting a lot of traction just because she wrote this stuff, right? She's sharing it on LinkedIn. And it makes her extremely, she probably hasn't seen the leverage she's going to get out of this totally yet, but it makes her extremely visible. I'll have to put a link to that in the show notes to her stuff. So the first one is external conversations. The second one is inside your industry visibility, and then creating advisory moments. And I mean you being the advisor, because you know a lot, right? And a lot of times we don't want to help people because we're busy, but helping someone in your network with a problem. LinkedIn, again, is very powerful. You just jumping in there and saying, hey, I can help you. Sometimes, hey, DM me. I'll have a conversation. I'll tell you how we're doing it. Maybe I can't say it publicly, but we could talk on the phone about how we're doing this and solving this problem at our company. Yeah, and those kind of things are gold. They take you a little bit of time. They may take you out of your comfort zone. Good. The 30-minute consult call, paid or unpaid, doesn't even matter. But people want your consult. And again, LinkedIn is probably one of the best places to find them. It's not the only one. Industry meetings, as you meet people, just volunteer. Hey, I'll be glad to show you what we do. I've gone to visit just doing this. I've been inside of a lot of companies, a lot of factories where people are just saying, hey, Dale, I'll come over and we'll show you what we're doing there. We'll show you how we're solving this problem. And a lot of times it's just me being curious. I don't have a specific problem. Sometimes I'm just like, I'd love to see what you guys are doing. And they'll show us. Review someone's strategy doc. When people are asking for help, hey, can you review this? And most of us are like, what, this guy's asking for free work. Do it. I just did this one for another university just the other day, that they asked for some help doing something. I'm not paid anything out of it. It's just a relationship thing. And introduce, now this one is gold here. Introduce two people that should meet. So here's the thing is I've already said most of us only know people inside of our company and organization. But if you know somebody who is a I'll just pick on what I'm talking about, a project manager for Salesforce implementations, right? And that they're specialized in that. And then you know somebody else in this other company that you've met through LinkedIn or doing the things that you do, and your network gets big, and you start introducing people. That that is worth money. That is golden. That proves your value. And let me just tell you, your network is golden. I'm gonna throw something aside for just a minute. We had this company, and we had hired this guy on the company who was a venture capital guy, and he was on the team, and he was really there for his Rolodex, right, his network. And I remember one of our tech people was working on his phone, had a phone problem, and so he comes back and he says, "You would not believe the contacts on that guy's phone, who he has in his, number one, the sheer volume of contacts he has, and who some of these people are." And I'm like, yeah, I would. That's why he is here. We weren't asking this guy to do anything. He was a connection to everybody. Those kind of things are gold, because that's important in all organizations. You are actually, by networking, you are helping your current employer, because your current employer, your boss's boss has the same problem you do. They have no perspective. They don't have any time. They're doing the same thing you're doing. They have no time to go out there and connect and network. And that networking is extremely powerful. So, number 4. So, I've given you 3 things: external conversations, building industry visibility, be an advisor, be known for a problem. Number 4, not a title. The easiest way to do this is go to LinkedIn and change your LinkedIn tagline or whatever. Most people will say senior project manager at company X, or something like that. The problem with that is, your title should be in there. It shouldn't be there because it shouldn't be on that line, because it's highly visible and it doesn't really mean anything. What's a senior project manager or senior product manager? At company X, it's this. At company Y, it's this. Somebody else gives it a totally different name. They're arbitrary for the most part. But instead, saying something like, I help teams ship faster without breaking things. And you see this all the time on LinkedIn, right? You'll see this kind of, sometimes it's funny title, but it's speaking plain English. Here's what I do. And people appreciate that, because titles are arbitrary. They're often internal, but the problems are universal, right? All companies, all types of companies have this problem. When you say you're a senior product manager, maybe company industry X doesn't use product managers, but it's the same thing, right? They call it something different. It's the same thing. That's the easy way to do this. Just get known for being a problem solver. What kind of problems do you solve? Look, you don't need a new job here. None of what I am talking about is you quitting your day job, turning over tables, anything like that. It's about you creating options for you. When you start to do these things, you start to negotiate differently. You start to tolerate less. And by the way, this is valuable to your current employer. When you negotiate harder, when you tolerate less, when you build differently, when you have stronger opinions, you now become more valuable to your current employer. You quit hiding because you have options. You're a stronger employee, and you sleep better. And one of the things I didn't write down here is, as you start getting options and as you start doing some of these things, you get excited because you see, you take your eyes off this little microscope looking inside your own industry, and you start seeing all the opportunities in the world. And there's tons of them. And you may not want any of them, but it's exciting to learn. And that's the one thing I learned. When I started networking, it was like, wow, there's junk going on right in the city I am in. I didn't know it existed. Every day I learned something. I didn't know that existed. I didn't know that company was here. I didn't know these people were here. I didn't know they were doing this. And you're just like, wow, there's so much more to do than I think. So look, that's where I want. These are the things I want you to try: is external conversations, industry visibility. LinkedIn is a good place to start there. Be an advisor, being helpful to people, especially with your technical abilities, whatever that is. And 4, be known for the problem you solve, not your job title. So let me give you a simple self-test though. We're just going to close with this. I want you to self-test. Maybe we should all I should self-test, right? We should all do this. Just awareness. Question 1. If your role disappeared in 60 days, 2 months, what happens? I mean, write this down on paper. Think about that. If your role disappears in 60 days, what happens? Who would you call? Do you have any emergency fund to live on? Are you starting from zero? Are you totally lost? I mean, so if your job goes away in 60 days, what do you do? What happens? Number 2, who outside of your company could vouch for your value? And maybe I should even add, could even talk about the problem you can solve. Who outside of your current company? Is it former colleagues, industry peers, anyone who's seen you work recently, people on LinkedIn that see you show up, people that see you show up at these meetings, whatever it is? Who could vouch for your value? And number 3, where does your confidence actually come from? And I mean on jobs here. Your skills, is it your title or your paycheck? If it's your title and your paycheck, when those go away, which they will. If you just retire, right? If you do nothing else but retire, they go away. A lot of people struggle with that. Their confidence goes down. What happens when they go away? What happens? So where does your confidence come from? Right? So if these questions are making you uncomfortable, if this whole conversation is making you uncomfortable, hopefully a little bit uncomfortable, maybe a little bit excited, but if you're feeling a little discomfort in it, consider that information. Not everything else I said, but the fact that this is discomforting or this is uncomfortable is information to you. If you have strong answers, you've probably already reduced exposure. Most people, though, are I had written down, most people are somewhere in between total discomfort and strong, they've already reduced exposure. I don't think so. Thinking about that now, the people, and again, I'm talking about highly paid, highly intelligent, highly competent, highly valued people inside their organizations. Most are exposed because they're busy, because they are highly valued at their company and they're kept busy, because they don't have time to go do and they don't do, and all these things are outside of their comfort zone because they're loyal and they feel like loyalty keeps them from asking questions or doing things. Most people that I work with, and oftentimes it's people would say, no, they're great. They got a strong network until they need it. These are conversations I have every day. I mean, this is with smart people. Well, people, I'm just thinking, why are you calling me? I mean, that I say that so often. Why are you calling me? You know everybody. So it's everybody from the software engineer who's just the geek in the world who's really good at what he does, or some technical skill, to corporate executives that fly around on Lear jets all day and make speeches and go to meetings. They're in the same spot. They're exposed. Security isn't about staying or going. It's about a choice. So most people, I just want to close, most people aren't stuck. They're just standing in one place too long without leverage. When things aren't working, when things are working fine, I mean, I get it. When things are working fine, why would you change? But working and secure are not the same thing. Having a job today that pays me and being secure, so it's not the same thing. My goal here again is not to get you to escape, not to quit your job, not to start over. I'm just trying to help you reduce exposure, right? And when you reduce exposure, a lot of good things happen. But that's not what I want to go into today. If you're honest with yourself, though, I just want to leave you with this. If you're honest with yourself, how exposed are you right now? Talk to you next week.